Hi everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Liquidware Chats. This month I sit down with Eddie Riddle. Eddie recently joined Liquidware as a senior technical solutions architect, and he will be working in conjunction with our product teams. So we talk about Eddie's career to date in EUC, also about what his role is going to be at Liquidware and why he chose to come to Liquidware. We also look at some of the kind of key trends within EUC and how Liquidware help with those trends. And then finally, we look at the impact of AI on EUC. Really hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks. Eddie, how are you doing?
Doing very well, James. Glad to be here.
Excellent. So Eddie, just before we get started, maybe can you give us a little bit of background about yourself and how you kind of ended up in EUC?
Yeah, definitely. I've been in the UC space since 2008 when I joined VMware. I was one of their first consultants doing VDM back in the day. So lots of experience on the VMware side of VDI. Had worked with them for about 6 years before moving over to EMC to run their VDI practice.
Excellent. Okay. And what would have been kind of the typical VDI issues you would have had to deal with back in the day in those roles?
Oh, lots of sizing issues where they didn't size the environment appropriately for the number of users. There's actually a product from Liquidware, which we use quite extensively called Stratosphere to help us with that problem.
And Stratosphere still today can help you with sizing issues. It's one of its many excellent features. So that's good. And then I suppose since EMC, what have you been doing then have you stayed in EUC, or did you kind of have you moved about like we all do?
Yep, no, I've stayed pretty much tied to EUC. I've moved over to security for a little bit, still focused on the EUC side of security though. So been pretty entrenched in what we've been doing on the EUC side for a number of years.
Excellent, excellent. Um, you're about a month into your new role at Liquidware.
Yeah, so I'm a senior technical solutions architect. Been a month in, working very closely with product development to define where there are some gaps in the product, bringing in a fresh new perspective, new eyes on the product, and really just getting that customer centric view to be brought to the product definition.
Excellent, sounds good. And as you said, you've had experience with Liquidware in the past. You mentioned that you'd worked with Stratosphere. Have you worked with any of the other products, or what was the big attraction for joining Liquidware?
Yeah, definitely. So I have worked with the other products. At EMC, we actually leverage Profile Unity and FlexApp a little bit as well, in addition to some of the VMware technologies, just because VMware technologies have their limitations. So we leverage the technology through Liquidware to be able to bridge those gaps. So Liquidware has amazing technology, amazing edge solutions that they're coming out with, including command control and expanding their product portfolio considerably. So coming in and being able to provide that fresh perspective to the team was definitely valuable.
Generally, most people at Liquidware have been here quite a long time, so I'm going into my third year. So I know what you mean about having that fresh kind of perspective on things, and I think it's nice to shake things up a bit. And but I do agree about our solutions, and we have great solutions. So I suppose one of the things I wanted to ask was, um, we're now at the stage where Windows 10 is coming end of life, and a lot of companies are looking at that. And is that something you've been talking with customers since you've joined? How we can kind of help with that whole Windows 10 migration?
It is. So that's something that's very hot topic for a number of customers right now. They impending doom that they're going to face behind Windows 10 end of life really is something that they're highly concerned about. So where we come in and being able to bridge the gap for application compatibility with our FlexApp technology and our Profile Unity, being able to move the user profiles between the two operating systems, allowing them to be able to, move back and forth seamlessly between Windows 10 and Windows 11, gives them the opportunity to really roll this out in a systematic manner.
Yeah. And then obviously, if the customer has, you can utilize Stratosphere to kind of do a side by side comparison of the how the experience and performance is when you're on Windows 10, and do a comparison when on your Windows level.
Correct. Definitely a valuable asset there, especially where users have their own opinions about how technology works. So when you have that data to be able to prove that technology is working as well or better, it definitely helps to be able to help with those user stories.
Sure, and as you know, Stratosphere gives you that kind of UX score, but we also do in 6.7 have the ability to probe and ask users what their opinion is of it, and get that kind of both sides of the story, so you can do a side by side comparison. Excellent. So just thinking about you mentioned about FlexApp there. I want to talk a little bit about you know everything we're hearing now is about how we can automate more. So how do you go about the whole automation process with FlexApp?
Yeah, so FlexApp actually has an entire automation solution built into it. It is command line based, but it also integrates with CI/CD pipelines. So you can use infrastructure as code to be able to build out your application packages. It utilizes standard JSON for its configurations, and then the basic functionality of it is that you have packaging machines that go off and do the packaging for you. Then they'll notify you through email once the package is complete, and then that's now automatically uploaded to Profile Unity for you to deploy.
Excellent. So it really kind of simplifies that whole packaging process, and you can have multiple machines doing automated packaging. So you essentially have a packaging factory that is completely automated, and you can just deploys all of those applications to Profile Unity.
Correct. And you can do multiple versions of applications as well. So if you had the ability or had the need for, multiple versions of the same application, FlexApp gives you that functionality to be able to package them through the FlexApp automation packaging solution, and then just have a single user interface to define those for your users.
Excellent. And is it just FlexApp, or can it create FlexApp One packages as well?
It can actually create FlexApp One packages as well, which can be used to deploy to non-managed devices, which is considerable for expanding the use cases of the technology.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And obviously with FlexApp One, you have that whole kind of offline capability as well, which is very handy for those kind of hybrid work scenarios where you mightn't be checking in with the main network.
Correct.
Excellent, excellent. So is there any kind of in your experience of what's going on, what would you kind of see as kind of some of the kind of big, apart from obviously we've talked about Windows 11, but is there any kind of big kind of trends you're seeing currently in EUC, and how can Liquidware kind of help with those trends or issues?
Yeah. So what I've seen from trending is there's a lot of focus on DEX or digital experience for the end users. Giving that functionality to be able to have a influence over the digital user experience gives a lot of functionality for IT teams to be able to measure, monitor, and influence that experience. With Profile Unity, you have the ability to roam those profiles for the users. That gives them that experience, a single user experience across any device. And then you also have the ability with FlexApp to give them the same applications across any device. So between the two of those, the digital experience from Liquidware, very seamless to the users.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think as if we look at things in the market, Dex is definitely becoming bigger and bigger, and a more kind of pertinent issue for companies. And we've seen it with the development of internally with ourselves, with, as I mentioned earlier, about the kind of the bringing in the user sentiment surveys into Stratosphere. We already have the kind of the real time remediation with command control. So we kind of one of the things we kind of say is that we actually go beyond Dex because we have the profile side and you can deal with the applications with Flex App and Profile Unity. And would there be any other trends you've seen apart from Dex as well that you think that or where kind of Liquidware is a good use case?
I think, definitely one of the big use cases that we have right now is around AI PCs and their functionality within an organization. There's a lot of, we'll say, desire to move towards AI PCs. The functionality of them is still to be determined for how valuable they are for the users. With Stratosphere, it gives us the functionality to be able to look at how the users are using their systems today and determine if those new features will be able to be valuable to them as they expand their roles.
Yeah, we are definitely starting to see, the rollout of AI PCs with things like the Snapdragon 10 and things like that. And it is going to be, doesn't matter what your opinion is on AI PCs, they are going to be the prevalent PC type in the next couple of years across enterprises, because they are becoming standard. We've had CPU, we've had GPU, and we now have MPUs. So we are seeing that progression. But as I've talked to several people about this, and no one can really say that the added value that they're quite getting from an MPU just yet. We're kind of still at the infancy when it comes to that. And I suppose that, as you state, that's where Stratosphere comes into it. And you can look at the resources and the utilization on those machines and go, well, this is actually, not being utilized, or what application is utilizing it. So it does give you that detailed view and all of those metrics. And also, we mentioned MPUs. We will be bringing support in for MPUs in the near future as well. So we will be able to give you all the kind of detailed metrics we give you now for CPU and GPU. We'll be able to do the same for MPU in coming soon. So yeah. So just generally talking, as we've talked about the different use cases, and I suppose I wanted to have a little bit of a wider discussion around AI and kind of its impact on EUC, and where you kind of see it really making inroads within end user computing.
I think that's a very touchy subject for a lot of organizations. Giving the power of AI to their end users is something that a lot of organizations want to do. Now, being able to control the data flow, being able to control the security of AI is definitely an area where there's still some gaps. Where Liquidware comes in is being able to determine the use of that AI to be able to make sure that, as we mentioned with Stratosphere, it's actually being utilized by the end users versus just being shelfware. This is a very heavy investment for a lot of organizations to move towards an AI first methodology. And it is something that you need to make sure you're managing appropriately as you move towards towards that model.
Yeah, no, very much so. And I think the thing with an AI strategy is it comes down to your data and how you have classified what data, what management you have on it, what access levels on it. Because if you have none of those in place, then implementing AI is only going to make things worse. It's not going to improve things. It's very much, AI is this big shining thing, but you have to do the boring stuff, which is data classification, data management, all of that kind of stuff. If you've got things like SharePoint, make sure you secure all of that kind of stuff. And I suppose that's kind of the key starting point. You can start playing around with the various tools and that, but at the same time, data management and data security is paramount for a proper kind of AI strategy.
Definitely. And EUC kind of highlights that within the number of users that are interacting with the AI technology. A lot of organizations and companies are working to include AI within their product sets. We're definitely working to do that as well. In a future release of Command Control, there'll actually be AI automated remediation of issues. So when a user does experience an issue, the AI functionality built in with Command Control will then be able to define what those remediation steps should be for your administrators to take, and then in a future release be able to take those administrative actions on its own.
Yeah, that's very true. But we do already have AI implemented within command control. If you think it's through the process identification, so you can utilize ChatGPT at the moment. That is in the next release. That will be extended to other AI uh, versions. But that's a key part of any kind of troubleshooting process, because we have our process monitor built into command control. It lists all these processes. You've no idea if they're what they are half the time. So instead of having to go off and Google, get onto some page with some malware or something like that, you can just utilize the ChatGPT integration and pull back a description of the name of the process, who it's by, and then kind of a detailed, and then you can decide whether you want to kill it off or just leave it like it's doing. Because generally, most of those processes are Microsoft processes.
Indeed, and a lot of them, as you mentioned, are very obscure for what they're called.
Mm.
So being able to define what they're doing within the system is a huge gap for a lot of administrators.
Yeah, exactly, and it's all about, I suppose, when it comes to command control, it's all about being able to make those kind of reducing the time to resolution by making quick diagnosis and then being able to remediate.
Yep, and being able to do that in real time.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Very much so. Yeah. Yeah. It's all about the kind of the real time nature of it. And I suppose it's even more important in the kind of hybrid work scenarios that we have now. That people are not just in the office; they're working from home. They're working from anywhere, basically. So just the fact that, and I suppose that one of the cool things about command control, even the admin doesn't have to be working in the office, because it's a console within the browser, so the admin can be anywhere, and there's no need for a VPN while utilizing command control. So you just access the control plane and you can remediate and review all from a browser.
Indeed, and being a SaaS model gives the ability to expand your user base at a linear progression. So you're not looking at, tiered license structures as you are with a lot of other solutions where you're paying for licenses that you don't need.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And we also have, obviously, we have a feature where, if you do need to increase it, you can do it very much on demand and scale up as required. So you have that flexibility there, that, we're not locking you into a certain amount of devices. That you have the ability to scale that up and go from there. And as I said, there will be a release of command control coming soon as well. And they've got some, we've hinted about some of the stuff we have coming. So it's quite an exciting release. And it kind of, I think, I've always liked how we're approaching AI. We're not just, I kind of say that, I don't need an AI powered toaster. We don't need AI in every aspect of our products. It has to be a specific use case or pain point that we're solving for our customers. And I think that's how we've approached it with implementing AI. We did a point solution with identifying processes. We're going to take it to the next level with, and we'll do it across the products as well. But it won't be that everything is AI. And in fairness, I don't want AI over everything. I'm very much of the opinion with AI. It kind of can make recommendations, but it should never make the decision. The decision should always, there should be a human in the loop at all stages when it comes to decision making.
Indeed. And AI, as we all know, can hallucinate sometimes. So that's an area where you want to make sure you're validating any action that it's recommending. So while AI will reduce the workload for administrators, it does not reduce the need for administrators.
That's a really good point. Yeah, exactly. Because if you think about AI is this logical thing, it goes about things on a logical nature. So if you were saying to, you know, make this server as performant as possible, well, they just kick all the users off. Then it performs
It,
perfectly, which is
exactly.
not what we want in an enterprise environment. So yes, play around with AI. Yes, get it to make recommendations. And as we move into this age of AI agents, always include a human in the decision making process, because the results can be pretty bad if you don't.
I think something that's valuable to talk about is within Profile Unity, the functionality to be able to leverage MSIX and AppV packages That's another huge gap right now that organizations going through application monetization processes are looking at those solutions. A lot of organizations jumped on the AppV bandwagon, and now some of those components are going end of life. So what we're seeing is now a requirement to move from the AppV packages onto a more modern platform.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that, and obviously, we announced at Ignite last year that we would be part of the AVD App Attach program, and so that kind of gives the ability to bring your Flex apps within to your AVD environment, and kind of alleviate any issues you may have with MSIX in its current guise, and we're definitely seeing a lot of uptake with that.
Indeed, I think that that is an area where, we actually are able to augment Microsoft considerably with our application technology. Working well with FS Logics, it gives the opportunity to manage your applications and your user profiles across two individual platforms that give the functionality for an end user. FS Logics being the profile disk and the user profile management. And then you have the application management, application deployment, and application functionality delivered through FlexApp.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good use case, and we're definitely seeing a lot of customers reach out to us about that, and kind of embracing FlexApp as a technology, because as we've said, AppV is certain component. The server components are going away. The actual packaging format is staying for now, but it's very important to point out there is no development going on with AppV. That's it. Whatever it has now, that's it. They are not developing that solution anymore. So you either look at other modern packaging formats such as FlexApp, and then our integration with AVD App Attach and that kind of thing. But you need to kind of make that decision now, because there is no more development with AppV as a product.
Correct. And one of the big benefits of FlexApp as well, when talking about AppV, is the ability to convert AppV packages directly to FlexApp application packages. So we have that built into the product as a standard function. You import your AppV application package, and it will export a FlexApp application package.
Yeah. But also, if you want to just keep your AppV packages, that we can just continue to manage them via Profile Unity as well. So we're not forcing you to convert. If you want to take a kind of a timed approach to it, you can just import them, manage them with Profile Unity, and then when the time comes, you can convert them to FlexApp.
Correct.
Yeah. So we give you both options essentially. You can do a full conversion, or you can stick with them and just put them under the management of Profile Unity. And so you have that kind of choice that I think customers like. So they don't have to make those decisions. They have enough kind of woes with things like Windows 10 migrations and all that kind of stuff that they don't need anymore at the moment. So they've got a little bit of time before, as I said, it's only the server components that are going. So you have that flexibility to be able to still utilize your AppVs, but, bring them into ProU, or if you so want, you can convert them completely to FlexApp.
Yeah. We also do the same with MSIX packages as well. So organizations that have started moving to MSIX can still manage those applications and deployment through FlexApp.
Yes, that's very true. Exactly. Yeah. So again, we can convert those packages, or we can just import them. We can pretty much import most things into Profile Unity. So it kind of your all-encompassing profile solution and app for app management as well. Okay, Eddie, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you. It was amazing to be here, and I look forward to more opportunities in the future.
Excellent. Thanks very much. We will see everyone on the next episode. Cheers.